It is just a huge honor for me today to be podcast interviewing Paule Delaney, founder and CEO of LoupeCam, right here in my backyard in Scottsdale.
That's right.
But you have a French accent. So before we start, how did you get a French accent in Scottsdale?
I took French lesson. Good morning, au revoir, to start. It is a true pleasure to visit you today. And then I decided to leave that part out and try to ramp up a little bit.
Well, you know who your biggest fan is?
Who?
My buddy who has sat in that exact chair, Jay Resnick.
Oh.
And he's he's on Dentaltown. There's 250,000 dentists on Dentaltown, and he is the #1 oral surgeon, most revered. He put up 3 online CE courses, and they were each viewed 10,000 times. And he was the one who told me to talk to you. And so why does Jay Resnick think you walk on water?
Well, walking on water, yeah. Thank you, Jay, for that really nice word. We've been in business for the past 10 years, a little over 10 years, and Jay has been a customer of us from the very, very beginning. So he saw us. Jay is one of those more visionary and does things very differently. He's the 1% of the industry who has a vision for things and put action behind them. And so he's been a customer of us for many years, and then kept upgrading as our solution and products migrated and over the years. So he obviously uses our LoupeCam product every day and has become, his own key opinion leader and has built his own practice and name, very involved in C credits.
He's actually his own universe. When you get near him, there's gravity, and you start. Let me read your bio. Paule Delaney graduated in 1998.
Paule, because Paul is
sorry.
Yeah.
My brother's Paul.
That's right.
Paule Delaney graduated in 1998 with an international master's degree from the European School of Management, an elite international school that took her through the curriculum in Paris, France, Oxford, United Kingdom, Berlin, Germany. She fluently speaks French, English, and German, in addition to possessing a good working knowledge of Spanish. In 1999, she was recruited as a director of business development for a young telecom company in Montreal, Canada, where she contributed to expanding the business. The company was rapidly acquired by a big communications consortium prior to the industry's peak. In 2004, she moved to the United States of America and decided to utilize her previous background to create LoupeCam, pioneering a new multimedia imaging product, both hardware and software, that is highly regarded as a fundamental tool for internationally renowned medical and dental professionals worldwide. Now, you would think, since I'm the owner of Dentaltown and we have 400 online CE courses, that I'd think in fear and scarcity and wouldn't want to talk about Jay. I think in hope, growth, and abundancy. I love anybody that helps dentistry, but Jay Resnick, what's his website?
Onlineoralsurgery.com.
Onlineoralsurgery.com. And it is the video it's like it. I mean, online CE is so cool because if I go to an over-the-shoulder program and I'll drop $3 or $4 grand, and I'm 5'7" and I'm too fat to jump up and look over and all that stuff, and I can barely see, and it's a surgery, and there's only like 6 other doctors there. Then I go to oral surgery online with Jay's stuff, and I feel like I'm sitting on the tongue, looking down into the deal, and I would call him up and I'd say, how do you film that stuff? He's like, I got it on my head, I got it on the overhead, I got this and that, and it just keeps getting better and better and better. And I said, but nobody else does it like that. And he goes, because I use LoupeCam.
Yeah. So LoupeCam is actually a camera system that's been very earlier in the game. We understood that everything that's facial for a dentist, dental professional, or surgeon is prime real estate. And so we basically have made great effort to reduce the size, yet pack the camera system with technology to mount it onto the loop. So LoupeCam means it's a camera for loupes. We're non-denominational.
You mean loupes like?
That's right. So any kind of loupes, there's about 10, 15, 20 different type of loupes.
Is there really that many? 10 or 15?
Yes. I mean, with China kind of, entering the U.S. market,
Okay.
you'll see there's different types of loupes. And so for us, the vision behind LoupeCam is to have a camera system mounted onto your loupes, regardless of the type of loupes you carry. So we have adapters, about 80 to 100 different type of adapters. So we basically are able to mount across the board on anybody's loupes. That's for one. The camera is, we have two different models, a 13-gram one. They're both high def. 13
Now,
grams.
this is the United States. So if you ever start using grams,
Yes.
the only time you use grams in the United States is when you're dealing drugs.
Oh.
So anybody
0.4 ounce to your
there
liquid.
you go. Now they think you're legal and legitimate above
That's
the board.
right. The reason why I use grams is I found that normally doctors, especially any kind of surgical specialty, they will use gram because it's more accurate.
Sure.
The reading, so I kind of try to talk to them using their language.
But you know why the United States doesn't switch to from imperial math to
metric?
Metric, you know why? Because it would be mass confusion.
Probably so.
Get it, Eric? Get it, Greg? Ryan?
So
Why is the United States not switch from imperial math to metric?
What is that?
Because it would be mass confusion. Anyway,
So the camera mounts basically in the middle portion of the loupes with through an adapters. As I mentioned, we have about 100 different ones, and so you're able to align the camera with or without a light, preferably with the light. Most dentists, as you know, use a light. Lighting is very key, and so you're able to on the fly have a visual, and that's super important. People used to ask us, why do you need a camera to loupes? And it's interesting that that question is no longer asked because we're in 2018, first off. But just like when you were in college, university, studying for dentistry, you didn't have a pair of loupes, and then somebody told you, well, you need to buy a pair of loupes for precision, for increasing the level of detail that you're seeing. And same goes with the camera system for precision and increasing the level, and it gives you a completely different idea of what's going on. You're able to interact with the patient. I mean, of course, prior to surgery, it helps the patient to understand, as opposed to talking acronyms, 5 or 12, 13, you're losing everybody and telling you they're going to do an ACD procedure. That also doesn't help. So when you're using the camera to explain, people understand more, they visualize more, they're more on the same page with you. So it really helps the dentist to, convince the patient to move forward with the procedure. You can use the camera for, if you do pediatric dentistry, to explain to the parents. Parents, they're the one pulling the trigger on whether they do a procedure or not. They need to understand the same, likewise. You use also the camera for documentation. So if you have patient coming to your practice that have private insurance are very challenging to deal with because they never really cut a check when you submit the paperwork. So they always come back with a series of questions. Now we have LoupeCam customers that submit a video footage to the insurance company because they know they're going to get back to them with some series of questions. So basically the video footage is a complement information to help them to resolve or answer the question quickly. And then, of course, more recently, the social media portion is the one that basically makes the whole LoupeCam exploding, because a lot of dental professionals spend a couple of $1,000s a month on marketing services. Dental professionals have to self-promote. There's oftentimes more than one dental in one town, dental professional, so they have to self-promote. And how do you promote yourself? Oftentimes, if they have not studied the business, they're going to try to turn around to a marketing agency and spend a couple of $1,000s a month to help them to rank higher in Google's search engine. So Google has changed the algorithm so that if you want to rank higher nowadays, you have to have any kind of video linked to your practice. And that is what's driving the traffic and how you come up higher. So we tell the dental professional that you don't have to change anything you're doing. It's not another thing to trying to change what you're doing on a daily basis. Keep doing what you're doing the same way you're doing it, only mount LoupeCam onto your loupes. And when you do that, then you have some video footage. Then use existing resources, your office manager who happen to be tech savvy, to extract a portion here and there, so that you can utilize those footage. You don't have to upload an hour long every single day. You can cut it by segment. And chapter 1, how to do introduction to root canal, for instance, and then the day after, 3 days after, chapter 2, 3, and 4, and 5. And so you're basically showcasing, one, your understanding of the procedure. It helps you to rank higher in the Google search engine. And everything is kind of closing into a loop. So you're able to utilize your marketing agency for what they're supposed to be good at, but you provide them with the content. So you're able to generate that. So it's a completely different approach than outsourcing marketing and expecting them to generate traffic for you. You're able to really put your hands and utilize your skills for that. It makes a huge difference.
You know, we've done a show every day for 1,000 days. So we've had a lot of people come on and talk about before and after cosmetic, just talking about it. And they keep sending me emails. Dang, I'm in New Jersey. I had a lady fly in from South Carolina and had me do a $25,000 implant case. Southwest, you know, when I was little in the 60s, only rich people flew, or they work for big corporations. Southwest Airlines' #1 carrier, 27% of all sea miles. And these dentists who you're thinking about getting before and after veneers or a big complex implant case, and you're in Oklahoma and they're surfing and they see somebody in Kansas City. Well, Southwest Oklahoma to Kansas City is a couple $100. And these people who develop their websites with these videos and things like that, those are the ones selling, you know, a $25,000 case every Friday. It's amazing marketing.
I think the dental professionals, they have to understand that outsourcing to marketing, it's a great idea, but outsourcing, finding the right skill set is great. If you give the right skill set, the talent and the expertise to work with, it's going to be so much more traction for their practice, because I'm not telling them to change what they're doing. I'm just telling them to start thinking before they get to do their cases. It's just a little addition to what they do that makes a huge difference at the end of the day. And that's as simple as that. So we have dentists that buy our product and say, well, my patient, they want to see what's going on when I do the work. That's why I buy your product. So also there's some demands driven by patient. Of course, we're not talking about the 90-year-old granny, I'm sorry, that is asking you that. But the younger people, they are much more engaged in what's going on. They want to see. So we see our sales are being driven by the social media portion. But we like to see that LoupeCam is a great tool, but it can really help the bottom line of the practice. A small addition that makes a huge difference.
You know, a 90-year-old nanny that you said, 90-year-old nanny, it's actually 23 years. If you make it to 113, you're a teenager again.
Oh, fair enough.
Is that right?
Yeah, 113. Fair enough. When you talk about Loupes, you know, wanting to see better, a lot of the kids, about 25% of our show is in dental school, and they're mostly young. In fact, the #1 question is like, is that dude still alive? And that's how young they are. But anyway, a lot of the young kids, they think that loupes are so that you can see better. And it's true. The #1 way to increase quality in healthcare is visualization. If you can see bigger, whether it's be loupes or telescopes or surgery and all that stuff, but that's not why you do it. You do it because of your posture. If everybody, I'm 55, all of my alcoholic drinking buddies are always doing this all night long. Our necks are all jacked up because this is a 10-pound bowling ball. In fact, mine even has 3 holes in it to bowl with. And you lean over like this for 30 years. I mean, what if I could go back in time? It would only be for one thing. It would be to get my neck back. Yeah. I mean, you know, and that's what. And I can't tell you how many dentists have had lower spines fused, necks fused. So you do it for posture. And you do it to save your tool. And then the patient benefits, because whenever you can see 2, 3, 4 times bigger, it's just so much better. And so are you the founder of the company?
Yes, indeed. I founded LoupeCam. So we originally, I was located after the Telecom, I worked in the telecom business in Montreal, Canada, the French portion of Canada. And got approached by a group of surgeons from a little remote town that had read an article about the company, and they said, we need multimedia in surgery. And I was stunned. I said, multimedia and surgery. Well, what do you mean? It's like, well, we don't have any of those multimedia things that are being commercialized. And I was very, intrigued because I said, people don't think about those things. And so that kind of planted the seed. And then initially, when we first introduced the product, it was geared towards surgeons initially. So the dental professional were not even in the loop, L-O-O-P. And so we started to push the camera system for, strategically cardiac and, the top of the pyramid and other specialties for a couple of first few years. And then we back in around 2010, just, 2011, we started to pick up some phone calls at the office. I say, hey, I saw your product online. I'm a periodontist and I want one. And I was like, yeah, that's great. I'm sorry. Who are you? A periodont what? It's like, what do you do for a living? And so it went from one call to many, many other calls. And then what we just kind of realized, we entered the dental market through the back door. We never knew there was an application. It was more surgical driven by cardiac, plastic surgery, orthopedic, neuro, a little bit, spine. And then all of a sudden we had massively inquiries over the years from dental professional. And this is how we got started, after we realized that we just sold in excess of 100 units a year without promoting to dental professionals, say we might have to look at this market.
So how did you get from Montreal to Scottsdale? And when did that happen?
So I went from Montreal.
Because they say we're coming up on 8 billion humans. Mm-hmm. And only 1% live in a country they weren't born in.
Yeah.
And they say you only leave for love, a job, or you're running from the law. Which, I'm serious. I'm not kidding.
Definitely.
Did Montreal drive you to the border and say, out?
Yeah. Not quite, but I did meet my significant other now.
So it was love.
It was love, and now I'm married. He's, from the Midwest originally, and now we have 2 beautiful children. And
so I was right. See?
Yep.
You think I'm dumb.
No,
but see?
Love is a good reason to move, to expand.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's
I would move to a different country if I thought I was going to fall in love here.
Yep.
I would. I'd move all the way to China.
To China.
So, so what percent, how long have you been in America?
Since 2004, 2005, yeah. So
it's this 2018. So how many years you been here?
12-ish.
When you moved from Canada to the United States, could you feel your IQ go down? I mean, were you aware that you dumbed it down?
Can I plead the fifth?
Oh, trust me. Canada is the same size as California. They're the same population. They're like 10%. They have to be. I view Canada as like there's this frat house going on, and they're the straight A students up in the loft looking down over the batter and saying, "Tell me they're not doing ping pong bong before the night of the finals."
Everywhere you go is very different. Every place you go. I mean, I lived in the UK. I mean, in France, of course. I lived, in Canada, in Germany. So you just kind of have to learn to adjust, And the way I look at things is not so much. Of course, every place has great things and not so great things. So I try to focus on the great things and kind of not, because you have to see the glass half full, not half empty.
Well, Scottsdale has better winters than Montreal.
That's for sure. The food, generally speaking, in Montreal is a little much higher. I think you can find great food here, but it's not.
Well, you know why
the caliber is not the same.
You know why Montreal has the best food in the world?
Because French and also.
No, it's because they make 80% of the world's maple syrup. You pour maple syrup on anything.
Oh, really?
It tastes better. I'm from Kansas. I don't care if it's waffle, toast.
You will be invited to my sweet and savory crepes with cheese and a dash of maple syrup. My kids.
Did you know Montreal made 80% of the world's maple syrup?
I did not know, but Vermont does maple syrup as well. I mean, in Toronto area, yeah.
It's crazy because I grew up in Kansas, and so my friends, most of them are small grains farmers, but a lot of dairy farmers and a lot of managers. But they took the dairy farming technology to trees. So instead of having a tree with a pipe with a can hanging on it, and drip, 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 every one of them has got that same dairy suction unit on it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And they're not waiting to empty a can. I mean, so 24 hours a day, you're filling a swimming pool. It is the most, if you grew up on dairy farms, half of Ryan's cousins and uncles are dairy farmers in Kansas. And if you ever saw a well-ran dairy operation, then go see the maple syrup operation. It's amazing.
Wow.
What percent of your business now is dentist versus physician?
I would say to this day, I would go with the 80-20 rule. 80%,
Dental.
80% dental.
80% dental.
Yeah.
And that makes me so proud. You know why that is? So you know what she has said to you? You cannot sell a medical practice in Arizona. You sell a dental office practice. Dental offices are for sale. Vets are for sale. Chiropractors are for sale. But you can't sell a medical practice with Medicare and Medicaid. Any physician that opens up is already booked out 3 months in advance of all these patients he's going to lose money on. And in Ahwatukee, when you go to any of the physicians, it's still the old glass wall. You know, somebody opens a deal and says, sign this. They don't make eye contact. I am so proud. I know I always be hard on my homies, but dentists, vets, chiropractors, when it comes to business, they're up here. So think about what she said. There's only 211,000 Americans alive with a dental license, but only 130,000 are general dentists practicing 32 hours a week or more, or 30,000 specialists working 32 hours a week or more. So that's only 160,000 people. There's over 1 million MDs, yet the dentists buy 80% of the cameras. So why don't the MDs buy a camera? Because they're not marketing, they're not advertising, they don't have to do anything. Right. And that's why so many patients are always asking you for a recommendation about which physician, because you go to that physician's website, shit, they don't even have a contact form, an email address. I mean, go to every plastic surgeon in Ahwatukee's website, and you'd think he was an accountant. And then you go in there and ask for before and after pictures, and they come back and they give them a brochure. And who's crushing it? You take you know what the #1 cosmetic procedure is in Arizona, the United States for women? Well, women get 90.
Breast implant?
No,
Dental implant?
no. It's eyelid.
Oh.
Really?
Yeah, which really blew my mind because I never knew there could be something right or wrong with a woman's eyelid. I mean, I just don't ever remember looking at a woman and thinking, if your eyelid was only somehow different. But anyway,
really great.
but when you look at the, but I'm serious. I mean, I think about this. The average eyelid surgery for the United States of America is $3,200. There's a guy in this town who's getting $8,000. And the reason he's getting $8,000 is because when you go in there, he has his chair, a deal, a couch, and then he throws up a big screen TV. And he says basically there's about 4 different types of before and after boobs. You can have like big boobs and one small. You have some, you know, whatever. But the same thing with eyelids. There's about 4 different sets. So he looks at the deal, the patient, and he says, okay, she's this age, this is her issue, and then his technician person pulls up, like, just starts throwing out video. And they're like, oh shit, that's what I'm gonna do. Because the other guys, oh yeah, we do that. Here's a brochure from the American Association of Cosmetic Eyelid Surgery bullshit. And they're looking at this brochure. He's cutting on my eye. I'm nervous. And they all have the same price. It's like $32.50, and then this guy $8,000. And check this out. He only does 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon. You have to give him the $8,000 to make the appointment. And if you miss it, you lost your time. He says, look, it's your face, it's your eyes. That's what everybody looks at. If you're born hydrocephalic with no cerebrum, cerebellum, medulla oblongata, you still maintain eye contact. This is a brainstem function. So is crying, nursing, maintaining eye contact. And he says, I'm only going to do 1 case in the morning and 1 case in the afternoon. So the $8,000 is for my morning. And if you don't show up, I don't give a shit. And it's the same thing with implants. So all these patients have been presented these big implant treatment plans. They've all been presented it, and most of them want it. And then you say, well, they can't afford it. Shoot, between 16 years age and 76 years old, the average American will buy 12 new cars with a mean average price of $33,500 a piece. They buy a new car every 5 years, and there's dentists right there listening to me right now that have never done one $33,000 car treatment plan in your entire career. And then there's guys like Jay that do that all the time. And and you say they don't have the money. I was having lunch in Kansas. I went back to visit my mother because I just sometimes get really bad ideas. And so I went home and visited Mom, who's turning 80 this summer. And we went to lunch with the dentist out in the middle of bumblebutt nowhere town of 2,000 out in Kansas. But she loves this dentist too. And we're sitting at this little restaurant, and he's telling me how, there's just no money out here. So we got to remember, Howard, we're out here in Kansas. There's no money out here. And we're looking out the window, and there's the 7-Elevens there called Circle.
Okay.
No, not Circle K. That's here. What is it? The Q. What is the convenience stores out there? Circle. Quick Stop.
Quick Trip.
Quick Trip.
Okay.
So we're looking at the restaurant. There's a Quick Trip over there, and I say, "Hey, dumbass, how many trucks are in at the QT right now?"
New trucks.
And he looks over and he goes, "How many?" And I go, "Yeah, 7." I said, "Yeah, and every one of them is an F-150 Ford pickup truck or an F-250. The cheapest truck over there is 38 grand, and the black one decked out is almost 100. And they all live in this town where no one has any money." So isn't it kind of interesting how the average American buys a new car every 5 years for $33,000, and you've never sold one single case for $33,000? And then when they were telling me, when my homies that do this type of dentistry were telling me about this company, I was looking up and like, shit, it's in Scottsdale. I mean, I didn't even know you're in the backyard.
Yeah, we're in the backyard.
So you make your own luck, and you can sit there and blame it on inflation and the bond curves, and you blame it on every single thing instead of saying, why are these people, why is one guy in my shithole town crushing it, and the other 7 guys are blaming it on a small town? It's just, they want to blame it on everything but themselves.
Right.
So that just made my day that 80% of yourselves are the dentists.
We're
Because physicians are arrogant and dumber than rocks.
So I like to compare my summary of what you just said is, I like to say that if your neurosurgeon or cardiac surgeon is a jerk, chances are you're going to suck it up, because you have to have a cardiac surgeon or a neurosurgeon, so you're in bad shape. But if your dental professional is a jerk, you're going to turn around and find another one. So that describes a little bit the philosophy that we find, the camaraderie. I mean, a lot of dental professionals are easier to have access to. They have to interact with their patient. They're much more, easy to talk for most. And it's just, they're very hands-on. A surgeon is hands-on in surgery, but we have to realize all what's going on in the back scene before he shows up, and everything is tendered over to him. The dentist does the work on his own, and gets up, manages an employee, he has a wife, kids, a practice, patients. So it's a much more complex situation compared to a surgeon's, and it's a great market to be in. I mean, we our customers, they love our product. I think we do great technical support, great support, customer service. When they come and see us, they say at meetings, we get hugs, kiss, invitation to visit. They're happy.
That has nothing to do with your camera. I've never got a hug or a kiss one time in 30 years, and I started Dental Town. Trust me, this isn't a camera issue.
Well, we started this meeting with a little gentle French kiss on the side.
And you know what I like the most about that, the French? That the whole planet, after HIV, the whole planet realized that you can transmit diseases below the belt and kill each other. And the whole planet, especially this part of the world, unlike the Middle East and the French, who they kiss to the side, because a little newborn baby isn't born with streptococcus in its hands. They're not born with Peyronie's valves. They'll never get HPV. They're not born with syphilis, gonorrhea, and herpes anymore. They're with dental decay. And I remember when we were little, we had 2 grandmas, Dad's mom, Nola, and Mom's mom, Mary. And we all liked Dad's mom better because she would kiss you on the forehead. Yep. Mary would kiss you, and you're like, holy crap, can you hand me a towel? And you're like, And she doesn't realize that a nickel's worth of volume of saliva has 1 billion bacteria, microorganism, fungi, bacteria, and it still just blows my mind how even walking around here, I just had got word of my 4th grandchild, And you hold your grandchild, and everyone wants to kiss it on the mouth. And you're like, the French have class. The Muslims have class. I fist bump people. I mean, I don't want to shake your hand. Did you just pick your nose? Did you just itch your tooth? I mean, I'll touch knuckle, and it's tempting to kiss your granddaughter, but you don't do it. You bite her on the foot, and she'll scream just as loud, or fist bumping is what people should do. You should stop kissing, and if you got to kiss, do the French thing, the Saudi Arabia thing, off to each side.
Elbow rub.
Elbow
rub.
And so in the United States, though, in the dental market, I'm not familiar with. How many different loupes did you say you're selling?
So we have about adapters for about 80 different type of loupes.
But is it the 80-20 rule? I mean, 80% of your adaptions are to what?
To the dental. I mean, it doesn't matter because the loupes are the same. The manufacturer, they're selling the same frame, whether you're a surgeon or a cardiac surgeon or a dentist. What changes is the magnification. You can go from 2.5.
Now for me, you probably don't want to piss off any of the glass. It'd be channel conflict for me because I know their kids are saying I want to pick a pair of glasses.
We're not bringing up names, but
I know, that's why it's called channel conflict. So the dental students right now are saying, okay, well, if I'm about to buy my first pair of loupes, what would you recommend?
To go shopping and
do your research.
And do your research. When you found what fits your needs, then come and buy a LoupeCam.
What she's saying, and you got to be fair. They're not politicians. They're channel conflicts. If you service 10 different companies, but you recommend one, then the other 9 companies are coming to you like, what the hell?
Yes.
So they can't say.
And we don't want anyone who already has loupes to feel like they have to change anything. So we make sure to make adapters for as many as we can so that we can adapt to whatever the doctor already has. As far as, honestly, I think you would probably have better advice for a dental student wanting to purchase their first pair of loupes as what are the things in loupes over the years that you found the most beneficial? Is it weight or size or a specific design or something like that? Because that's probably what they want to evaluate.
And although I have to put a little comment onto that, oftentimes nowadays, the Loupes company has gotten a little bit more sophisticated and they attach certain accounts. So I do know there's an account here in town in Glendale, a school of dentistry that I'm not going to name. They are bound per contract with a certain Loupe company, and they basically force the university to have all their students buy exclusively from that company.
God,
the choices
that's
can
so
be
shocking that a private dental school acts like a whore.
That's why we make it. We're non-denominational. We basically, we believe in different type of religion, so you can mount the camera system onto your preferred frame.
All I want to say is that your human eye. I mean, the smallest thing your human eye can see is 50 microns, and Streptococcus mutans is 5 microns wide. I mean, we're so limited as apes, and so you got to get loupes. But the thing, my biggest pet peeve on loupes right now is a lot of people say, "Oh, I know that hard. Tell me something I don't know." I'll tell you something you don't know. Anybody with wet hands and dental office should be wearing loupes. So you're wearing loupes and your assistant isn't. And then you look at her temporary and say, "Well, God, I always gotta go in there and touch it up." Well, yeah, you're wearing 3.8 magnification and she's not. My wet hands, my hygienist assistants, dentists, everyone wears loupes. And if they say, I don't want to wear loupes, I say, okay, well, I don't want to go to a doctor named Stevie Wonder, okay? So go work in somewhere else. Dry hands can wear whatever they want, and wet hands have to wear loupes. And then for the wet hands, once you get familiar with it, you got to have 2 pair, because what you'll find that if your assistant will kick and scream getting them the whole time. Then you force her to him. Then she's been on him for a year. Then she drops them. And now she's afraid to go back in the mouth. Like I have 3 pairs because I dropped one time and one eye fogged. And it's like, I just didn't even want to do dentistry because I knew that I was going to be doing somewhere between Stevie Wonder and Ray Charles dentistry. And, you have to say, and then the endodontists, those microscopes are only 8x. I mean, it might have settings 8, 16, 24, or down to 4, but all the endodontists I know, it's just a check. They do their whole root canal with their 3.8 or whatever, but right before they fill, they just pull the scope over and look at it 8x, and once every 2 or 3 days, it's like one of the canals is still filled with sludge, or they missed the canal. So magnification is huge. Where were you going to go? That's your website?
No, this is. I just wanted to show you. This is the latest addition to our product line. So LoupeCam, as I mentioned, we adapt across the board for different type of loupes, and we are oftentimes referred to as the GoPro for dental. So you get to choose your platform. So you can go with Windows, which is traditional efficiency, suite for practice. Some go with Mac. So we have software for both. And then we recently introduced.
What is this though?
This is a
Hawaii?
mobile. No, this is a mobile. This is a mobile.
No, but what does that say?
Oh, this is a mobile device. This is a.
It's not a smartphone.
It is a smartphone. We disable the telecom because we don't want your wife to call you when you do dentistry with it.
Oh, this is what you use with the cameras.
That's right.
Oh,
So
okay, I
this-
thought that was your personal.
So this can
telephone.
go into your scrubs pocket and through the, upside down. You can connect the camera here because remember the camera is 13 gram / 0.4 ounce. So it mounts onto your loupes and then you basically put the wire directly into this. And this is your recording platform. So you can record. You don't have to record all the time, but you can record if you wish to. And the screen of your phone can be Chromecast onto your monitor into your practice. So your assistant can actually also visualize what's going on. So we utilize technology to serve the purpose. And so while the phone or the mobile device is into your pocket, we also have this little tiny hand control that let you activate so you can start and take pictures just by clicking. Because if you have a 3-hour case, you don't need to record 3 hours to spend another 3 or 5 hours editing. So you just want to be effective because time is money. Everybody are busy with their practice patients, office. And so those are the tools that we have to simplify your life so that you can start utilizing video, yet don't feel completely overwhelmed by the video that you're generating.
So at Awatuki, just little old bitty Awatuki, it's only got 85,000 people. I know a lot of people just use a microscope for a check. They have to do every single one of their fillings through a microscope because they can't bend their neck anymore. I mean, because kids, they're never going to get pregnant. They're never going to catch a disease. They're never going to wreck their car. They're going to do everything. And you got to look at the people who've been doing it 30, 40, 50 years and say, what are their biggest regrets? And the biggest regret is posture and trashing their spine. And this goes back 100 years because one of the biggest debates when they started the first, when dental school started, was all the surgery was stand up. And then it started to sit down, and because what was the problem with stand up? Why did everybody just start going to sit down? Because their bodies were all trashed. Because they were standing up, still leaning their bowling ball over.
Yep.
And so they thought, well, maybe we sit down. Well, then they sat down, and they still lean their bowling ball over. And I'm telling you, you go back for a century. By the way, dentistry started in France. Pierre Fauchard.
Really?
Have you heard of him before?
Pierre?
Pierre Fauchard.
Fouchard? How do you spell Fouchard?
F-U-C-H-A-R-D.
Yeah, I
Fouchard.
think it's F-O-U.
Oh, Fouchard.
No. Is it F-O-U? Text it to me. So, and you know what?
Oh, we're both wrong. It's F-A-U.
F-A-U.
Fouchard.
And when we were lecturing in Paris, France, and doing podcasts and saw the Louvre, that damn museum for Pierre Fauchard was being renovated. After 20, 30 years, they decided to close it down for 3 months and redo the whole damn thing. And I'm like, really? Really? So I got to go stand by the door and just cry.
The good news is you get to have a second opportunity to go and visit again.
Exactly.
There you go.
And if you need some guide, you know where to find me.
Yeah, it's amazing. And actually, before you leave, I want to do I'm going to get his book because it's like $17.50 or whatever. But I want to. I bought the G.V. Black for the father of American dentistry. A century later was G.V. Black, green, Bernhardt's black or whatever. But I want to get that Pierre Fauchard book and do a podcast where I just read the book because it's not that big of a book, but it's in French.
So you need my help to read.
I do. I need someone that can read French, and I'm going to read that book because I think the reason I want to do that is because people always think the sky is falling and dentistry is always going the wrong way. Well, go back 100 years and read G.V. Black's book, and then you realize, oh my God, they thought that. I mean, he would drill holes at the end of the tooth to let the evil spirits out. and you think the sky's falling because your bonding agent's not working. You know what I mean? And so you got to put in perspective. It's like politics. Like these little kids. I had some 25-year-old punk-ass kid tell me, these are the worst political times of my life. Like, dude, first president I ever saw on TV got shot in the head. The next one was impeached. I mean,
All perspective.
yeah, and they're like, oh, the North Korea thing. Dude, the Civil War, 1 in every 30 Americans was killed.
Yep.
And you're whining crocodile tears because Trump and somebody are farting at each other.
Yep.
It's like every 100 years the world is so much better. It's so much better. It's so much better. So I want to go back and I want to read the first dentist ever 200 years ago, G.V. Black, if you can find someone who can read French and speak English. And then I want to go 100 years forward, which is 100 years ago, to G.V. Black. And I think listening to me today, G.V. Black minus a century and Pierre Fauchard minus 2 centuries, it'll give you some perspective about 2 things. One, arrogant people always are proud to tell you what they know, and they never realize that they don't realize what they don't know. And 100 years from now, you know what this is going to look like 100 years from now when they watch this? This is the most state-of-the-art surgical camera on earth. And you know what they're going to think about this 100 years from now? It's going to look like Fred Flintstone's little
Kid's toy.
rock wheel thing. And they're going to be like, oh, I want to ask you another high-tech thing. Virtual reality. Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg, whose dad's a dentist and has sat in this very chair. His son paid $2 billion for, what was it, Oculus?
I think it was Oculus.
Oculus virtual reality. Does that interest you? I mean, some people think that the biggest overblown things in dentistry now are virtual reality and the printing. What do they call the printing? The
CNC machine mills, like the
3D
Sirona.
printing?
no, not the CAD/CAM reduction. That's
the 3D.
the printing.
Yeah.
The printing, the 3D printing.
Yeah, 3D printing. But do you ever sit around thinking that there will be a virtual reality deal? I mean, because like I'm wondering, this is what I'm going to ask. Take Jay, one of the greatest oral surgery educators. He's probably the best ever. Should that dentist be watching Jay's course on Zuckerberg's Oculus reality? Because right now, I don't know this, but Jenna says right now it's only use that it's good for is in porn. And but
market.
I mean, because think about that. Would that, with everything Jay's doing, be better sitting in my chair looking at the big screen
Well-
TV or crawl into virtual reality?
I mean, we can currently do it. I mean, we've tested internally. You can put the phone or Samsung and with the 3D goggles. That's all possible. We also had a software running on Google, the Google Glass, when they before they discontinued that. So we're assessing different things. But at the end of the day, what is missing, like when you're trying to get from A to Z, understanding a procedure, ramp up your skills. Why people are doing C credit? Because they have a need to keep up. Keep up with what? Techniques, new products, or how to improve a surgical technique to make their patient's life better, a shorter, potentially shorter procedure, shorter healing time, less drama into the mouth. All those things are the the elements driving the dental market nowadays. And so because of the massive amount influx of technology and new techniques relating to using this technology, people have to figure it out real quick. So you have the dentist in Kansas City who needs to ramp up because his clientele, they're very loyal to that doctor. And he said, well, I don't do implants, but I'll send you over to a buddy of mine 200 miles away from him. And now people feel that they need to secure a lot, need to ramp up. You see more and more GP doing implants. So they want to secure their clientele, or the clientele doesn't want to migrate away from them. So those are the driving forces. So I think we're catering with our product to help all the dental professional who needs to ramp it up through C, so whether it's a technique, surgical skills, or knowledge, generally speaking. You know,
Even if it's sharing a case on Dental Town for feedback, we have a couple clients who do that, and that's a really useful tool for them to learn by. I don't know if I see students in dental school using a 3D, like the Oculus device. I mean, it's definitely possible. It could totally go there. It's just, is that the most practical way to learn?
Well, I know the Facebook shareholders wish he never would have. Well, Instagram that he bought for $1 billion was considered the best.
Oh, absolutely.
The best purchase ever, and I noticed you don't have Instagram on your website, which is the highest.
Yeah, well, we do have the Instagram, but the icon is not there.
Yeah.
That
Instagram is the highest engagement social media deal.
Yep.
WhatsApp will probably go to 0. But most all the Wall Street boys think the virtual reality thing was a complete waste of money.
You know, it depending on what industry. If you're in gaming, yes, because gaming is all about simulation of different senses. I'm not sure you want to simulate all of those senses when you do dentistry. You might, but have different result than expected.
Yeah.
You know?
So on your website, do you have like a first of all, what does something like this cost?
So we have different products, high definition camera, full high definition with different accessories. So ranging between $2,500, really affordable, really not breaking the bank.
But you're from Montreal, so you're talking about Canadian. No. You just pay $2,500 Canadian.
No, we're talking about Uncle Sam green color. The
You
Irish
need to
green.
move back to Montreal
Absolutely.
so we can
Actually,
pay you
that's an idea.
$2,500 Canadian.
No.
Yeah, $2,500. I mean, and then that's the other thing. Like some guy was telling me, he wanted to learn ortho, but Richard Litt's course was $5,000, and Brock Rondeau's course is $5,000. He says, "Dude, I just don't have $5,000." I'm like, "Yeah, that makes sense because your first ortho case is $6,000, you idiot." And this is $2,500. I mean, a single implant and crown. One implant and a crown is $2,500, and then I'll ask you these questions. I'll say, okay, well, if someone goes to your website, how many people have to land on your website? If 100 people land on your website, how many convert and call your front desk? Oh, you don't know. And then I'll say, well, if 100 people call your office, how many convert to schedule? Oh, I don't know. Well, if I told 100 people they each need an implant and crown, how many of them convert treatment? Oh, I don't know. Oh, so what are you doing right now? Oh, I'm reading a math book. I mean, this is the business of dentistry. And then I hear every article and lecture ever written on marketing starts talking about Facebook. And my God, marketing starts with a camera. And then you convert those images to your website. This, I mean, my mom, when I was little, our phone was nailed to the wall. And we were so poor, it didn't even take pictures. And my mom's the greatest present I ever saw my mom got at Christmas, because our family exchanged the night before, then Santa Claus came in the morning. My mom, the phone cord was like 6 feet. And Dad found her some like 30-foot long cord. And when Mom saw it, she screamed. And her and all of her 7 kids ran in the kitchen, and she walked all 3 ways to see how far she could get. And she's like, I mean, it was so exciting. And now they're sitting there, everybody's got IBM mainframe, and the average SEO expert I talk to, for every 100 people that land on a dentist's office website, only 3 convert. So, man, when I go, and I'll do this right here, and she'll be my proof. If I go to the #1 search for dentist, looking for a new dentist, is dentist near me. So I go dentist near me, and how many does it say? I'll go to, I mean, it goes for eternity. So they go to your website and they're thinking, I want to get something done. I want to get eyelid surgery. I want to get a tummy tuck. I want to get veneers. I want to get implants. 3 seconds on your site, and they just hit the back button and go to the next one. You didn't grab them, and a picture's worth 1,000 words, and a video is 1,000 pictures, and it's all about visually stimulating them to build the trust that, oh man, these people know eyelids. These people know implants. These people know veneers. And
that's right. And the truth is, as I said, it's just like you do what you do every day. You just have to, before you do it, know that you're doing it with a purpose. Not only you're going to take care of your patient, but you're going to record portion of it. And we have, even dental hygienists that are actually recording portion to show patient, I'm going to show you how to floss, because clearly you don't. Who taught you how to floss? Nobody taught me. Just take a string and move it around. But there's techniques for flossing that work more efficient than others. And so they basically, they let the patient go home and send them brief email. Thank you for your visit. Just as a reminder, this is what is most efficient for you. And they insert a little video footage.
Because it's not about the patient. It's about the insurance claim. Because like when I was little and when you went to the piano teacher didn't sit on the piano and play Beethoven while I sat and watched. I had to sit on the piano. When you played sports, when you were in Little League, your parents weren't playing softball. You were playing softball. Then you go to the dental office. Here's some 6-year-old kid. He's never brushed his teeth once. He's never flossed his teeth once. He sits in the chair. She scales. She polishes. She brushes. She like, what the hell? I mean, it's like they're out of their mind. I mean, you would sit down and say, hey, Johnny, show me how you brush. And then he puts on the wrong amount of toothpaste and squeezes too much. You got to teach him that. Then he starts brushing metal. No, we start in the upper right. We go to the upper left. We go down. Floss. He goes and he said, no, we start back here. I mean, if your kid came to my office at 4 years old, chances are it'd be the first time the kid ever flossed his teeth once, because we're in this deal. Well, I'm just going to get this kid in and put him through something. Because what that kid does twice a day matters. What you do twice a year does nothing. So the word doctor comes from the Latin word docere, meaning to teach, just like the word Bible just means book. So everyone that teaches is a teacher. And I think the greatest teachers in dentistry should be your assistant, your hygienist. Mm-hmm. And I think it could easily be your website, because I watch these encounters like YouTube is 80% males. Because males, the average female ape and monkey talks 5 times for every time the man does. And so males like YouTube because there's no talking, there's no interaction. Girls like the other social media sites where someone's going to comment or reply. Girls got to be, there's got to be 5 of them or they're not alive. Boys are more solitary. And so many people are going to your website, and if you catch their eye, you catch them with a video. I mean, look. I think the average YouTube viewer video is Ryan, can you find me a stat on how long is the average YouTube video viewed? But it's like on Facebook, it's like 9 seconds, and on YouTube, it's almost 3 minutes. Mm-hmm. And so if you have 97% of the people,
4 minutes 20 seconds is the average view length.
4 minutes and 20 seconds.
Yep.
And could you find one that's for YouTube?
Yeah.
And could you find one for Facebook?
And you can teach your clients a lot in 4 minutes and 20 seconds.
And imagine if it was a mom, and the number one goal of the species is to survive long enough to reproduce and have offspring. And imagine the mom, and there's a 4-minute video about your hygienist teaching, talking to, and communicating to a 6-year-old child. The neatest video I ever saw in my life, my son sent it to me, and I was so... Well, I deleted it because I didn't want to abuse my granddaughter because I got a big platform, but she turned on her iPhone deal, and she was teaching a class on how to brush. So she stood at the sink. The water was on for at least half an hour, and she's talking about how to put it on, and she's putting on this toothbrush, and I think she was like 3, and then
23 seconds on Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook. I mean, you guys, I still think
which you can still leverage
not an
that
hour
you have
goes.
the content.
Yeah,
You can leverage all of those.
You guys think about that. The 2 biggest search engines in the world are YouTube and Google, and Facebook is got this smoke and mirrors over everybody that they're the hottest profile on the world, and they're not. But anyway, if it was a mom's number one deal is little Muffy. And if you caught her eye with a 4-minute video or less by your hygienist on kids, or it's an implant, or it's a cosmetic. Number 2, or when they put these on their websites, do you recommend a YouTube file?
Yeah, YouTube. YouTube is great because the way it works is, if you upload things onto YouTube, and YouTube, everybody knows it's owned by Google. So when people are doing searches, Google, the algorithm from Google is picking up video related to your practice. As a matter of fact, for dental who are listening, is your chances to get picked up by Google and rank higher in the Google search engine is much, much greater if you have any video, linked to your practice. Now, unfortunately, if you go fishing, your trophy, your fishing, or your hunting thing is not going to work. It has to be dental related for a dental practice. And this is what helps you to, when you did the search, dentists near me, the one that are video driven are going to come up higher. That's number one.
And
YouTube, fabulous platform, because you'll find a lot of different things. It's going to be picked up by Google, but also is very much, it's informational as to if you go direct in terms of dental implants or best dental implants, then you'll have all sorts of things that you can navigate yourself into. So really self-serve dual purpose.
And you can still embed that on your website and just do double duty by still using YouTube, but embedding it on your own site to capture people who jump on there.
I want to say two things about that. The first bubble that I lived through and remembered was, okay, when I graduated high school was 80, so that was the worst. That was 21% interest rates, double-digit inflation, double-digit 21% in interest rates. What was the other one? Unemployment, inflation. I had 3 friends whose dad lost a family farm and went out in the barn and blew their head. I mean, that was crazy. So then when the 2008 meltdown, again, the millennials are crocodiles. Oh my God, I lost my Starbucks pass. It's like, were interest rates 21%? When I bought my first house in 87, my interest rate was 14%. And now America's shitting because the Fed has raised interest rates back to 3 now. They're like 3, end of the world. Yeah. My first house, 14, back then 21. But the first bubble, though, was 93, 94 to March of 2000. And it was 4 stock spaces. It was Intel, Microsoft, or Dell, and Cisco. And then that all popped. We know what happened. Now we're at the top of another bubble that is completely going to pop because you're calling Netflix has the same value as Disney. And you're going to have the first company have $1 trillion market cap, Amazon, and they don't even have earnings. I mean, I've seen this rodeo so many times. But going back to that, what's interesting to me the most is that in the second bubble, there's only one company still in it again, Microsoft again. It's Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix. Google's in it again. And I love Google the most because Facebook makes all their money from one thing. Amazon is just 2. It's cloud storage and retail. And the retail's never made a penny. They've only ever made $1 on cloud storage. But Google, but Microsoft has a nice diversified portfolio. They bought Skype. They bought LinkedIn. Very nice. But they own Bing. And it always amuses me how gullible you are. There's some guy at the Holiday Inn talking about SEO. And you believe him. It's like, Bill Gates would give that guy $1 billion if they could fortify Bing to take out Google. So trust me, if anybody knew shit about search engine optimization, it's the most guarded secret in the world because it's Google, 130% of all of Google's profit comes from search. And that's what I said, 130%. Because the 90% they show, every other thing they do loses money. The 2 biggest search engines in the world are Google and YouTube. And what Bing will tell you is that if you have a YouTube video and on a Google search, and if it's a Gmail, I go to so many dental websites and their email is Dr. Smiles at Yahoo. Oh, what else? Why don't you go home tonight and introduce your wife to your girlfriend? That would be the equivalent. So yeah, it's got to be Gmail. It's got to be a YouTube. It's got to be Google. I would just do every Google product. I mean, just stay with Google. They're the beast. I don't know. I mean, they're just such an amazing company.
And so what people also have to realize is that Google, I mean, because of its massive imprint on search engine and dominating the market, clearly 70% of the searches are video driven. So the question is, if you as a dental professional,
say that 70% of searches are video driven. What does that mean?
That means that when you search something, 70% of what is going to be fed as an answer to what your search is going to be video driven. So do you want to be part of the 70% or you want to be the 30%? Think about it. Like if you don't even know, like you're cooking something, for instance, octopus. Do you know how to cook an octopus? You go into Google, you could how to cook an octopus. What comes up? You're going to have classic recipes that you're going to have to take the time to read, or you're going to have video. Which one do you think you're going to click on? Like, you're trying to get from A to B, learning how to cook an octopus. Everybody's going to click on the easiest, the least passive resistant, which is video. The question is, as a dental professional, if you don't have anything video driven, you fall automatically down at the bottom of the totem pole. You know, the 30%.
First of all, now you got me here. Have you actually eaten an octopus?
I actually cooked an octopus this weekend. I love
Seriously?
I love octopus.
This is so good.
Oh,
So how much of this before you ate the octopus?
I already gave her the French Connection as Vegas, and she
Yes.
she was skeptical.
Did you try it?
She's
yeah,
a
grilled
she's
octopus
a
is
trust me.
incredible.
You're gonna go there.
So good.
Now I want you to
gonna
buy
have
the
some
camera
this
just so she
weekend.
can make some money and buy some real food. Now my favorite joke in China was I spoke to the World Congress or something, whatever the hell, and you know what my opening joke was?
Oh boy.
Being raised Christian, I know that Adam and Eve were not Chinese, because if they were, they would have eaten the snake too.
Okay, that's actually pretty good.
They thought it was funny. So we're way over time. Let me see. Let me one more thing on that site. When I was little, the number one cause of death on a car was alcohol, drinking while driving. And in Kansas it was beer, and in France it was probably some fine wine or something. And in fact, my boys lost one of their nephews, ran over by a drunk driver. And back then in the 60s, when you killed someone with a drunk driver, you didn't even get a ticket. So you had Mothers Against Drunk Driving, and it was a crackdown. Well, now alcohol-related deaths aren't even number one. They're not even in the top 5. And guess what the number one is?
Phone.
Distraction on a phone. Again, back to video. They go to your website. I mean, they got an hour commute. They're searching for their dentist, and they're trying to read your website. And that's why all the news deals, like Apple News and all that, is all video driven, because when I'm driving, I can't read your website. But if I hit Dentistry and I'm at a red light and I hit the video, and it's a 4-minute video talking about something, I can listen to a video. My phone's in my car deal while you're driving down the road. So and this tells you the fall of journalism. So Phoenix is a test market for the driverless car, and we had one driverless car kill one person, and the whole world stopped. They don't even realize that over 30,000 Americans are killed each year by human drivers. They didn't talk about that the day the one person died, over 100 other Americans were killed by a human driver. Times 10 were carried off in an ambulance to a hospital and didn't die. But so you have all the data in the world that it's a distraction. In fact, Warren Buffett, did you see his annual letter this year? His annual letter is the most brilliant letter on all economics. I went to Creighton. He lectured at our business school. Just an amazing man. He's just so. But anyway, he owns Geico, and he warned everybody that he thinks it's going to be about 10 or 15 years, and he says he thinks he'll even be dead. But he says in 10 years, it's all going to switch to driverless because of this 30,000 killed each year. And he goes, there's really not going to be a need for auto insurance because you don't insure so many other activities you do. You only insure autos because there's so much carnage involved. Right. And he says that Geico will actually slither away to nothing. He said the cars have been getting safer and safer every year with bumpers and airbags, but the driver is batshit crazy. He said the cars have gotten safer, but he said the drivers have gotten worse because of this thing. People know not to drink and drive. I don't do it ever because I don't want to spill my drink. And so I...
You know what? I came up with an idea. I really feel like the insurance company, go back to the old world you were saying earlier, like dentistry. I think they should actually give a discount to people driving stick shift. Why?
Yeah, nice.
Because if you're driving stick shift,
you have to pay attention.
You cannot text, talk, and shift the stick.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
I know. Every time one of my kids does a stick shift, and I can barely. I mean, to drive stick, hold a cigarette in your mouth with a beer between your legs, it's almost impossible to get to work.
So,
But hey, and one last thing, I get letters all the time and emails all the time saying they want to be a speaker, they like to present at a meeting, they want to present at a county meeting, want to be a speaker. You know the best way to be a speaker? Start massively documenting some amazing cases.
Yeah.
And when everybody, I remember, I'm so old that I remember when the hot new speaker was the ones who went from the carousels of Kodak slides to this thing called PowerPoint.
Yeah.
And we'd be sitting there looking at this like, the hell's this guy doing? Because everybody, I mean, the deal was you would walk out there with 2 racks and you would carry them on the plane because you had 6 carousels of slides, and if you lost that, they would just, have a heart attack. And then some guys come out with this little Macintosh thing, and it was a it wasn't an evolution, it wasn't an incremental improvement, it was like, holy shit. And now everybody's doing PowerPoint, and then you show up at these meetings and you're in high definition video with sound, and this is where it's at. And the sound technology, the one thing you can be guaranteed, I've lectured 1,000 times, is I don't care how nice the Hyatt, the Hilton, whatever is, the speakers were made in 1912, but the sound systems are horrible. You can't really bring your own speakers, but did you see GM's getting rid of car speakers? Because the technology of using existing windows and doors and dashes, they can both sound that whole car with just existing windows and dashes. But I've already seen my first lecture, and I forgot where it was, and the guy had a little device as big as that, but you know how there's windows in the room, and he just put like one little suction cup on one, and you thought there was an orchestra right behind you. So why don't you show up with some amazing high definition video, some high definition sound. And by the way, these are never commercials. No one has ever paid me $1 to be on the show. I've been offered lots of dollars, lots of times. It was a huge honor. Thank you, Jay Resnick, for
Thank you.
and thank you so much for coming over and talking to my homies.
It was our pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah.